Okay. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to something new. I say it's new. Jake did 2 of these videos a while back, but this is something kind of new for the channel in its new podcast format. So here I am on Jake's channel to do a worst to best episode. I think it's going to be lovely for you all to see me without some clunky ass headphones around my head. So this is going to be fun. So today we are talking about Scottish progressive rock, alternative rock band Biffy Clyro, hailing from the town of Kilmarnock in Scotland. They are a 3-piece, headed by Simon Neil, vocalist and guitarist, and they're filled out by twin brothers, James Johnson and Ben Johnson. James being the bassist, he plays synthesizers, and Ben on drums, and all 3 of them contribute vocally to the band, which lends the band's sound to a really diverse vocal palette, which I like when there are supporting singing lines, they are as captivating and as important as Simon's, which is really nice. I like that about the band. Founded in 1995, first album Blackened Sky came out in 2002. They have, in total, released 8 albums. They have a new one, a 9th, coming out this year. I have not heard it because it's not out yet, but we're going to talk about it on the podcast. These are the 8 albums we're going to talk about today. I see you, Vertigo of Bliss. Thank you for demonetizing us with that album cover. They are quite successful over here in the UK. Less so in America. Their album Only Revolutions scored a big hit for X Factor of all places, which you wouldn't expect for a progressive rock band. The song Many of Horror was covered by Matt Cardle as When We Collide, which I hate. But no. That album Only Revolutions went double platinum here in the UK. I've seen Biffy Clyro live twice. They are an astounding live band, but the second time I saw them, they had brand new supporting. You see what I mean? They're more popular over here. You can break their 8 albums up into 3 quite distinct eras. Biffy Clyro themselves have done this. You have the first trilogy, kind of like very lo-fi indie rock records. The second trilogy, which are much bigger, much more studio sounding, much more epic. You have Puzzle, which is like about grief. Only Revolutions, which is like about marriage. And you have Opposites, which is about like both of those things, but also about the fact that the band nearly broke up recording that record. When I bought it, when it initially came out on iTunes, it came with a documentary about the making of the album, which I watched so many times. So I know. I've been there. I was there, man. Anyway. So, just to cover a few bases very quickly, we are going to talk about Balance Not Symmetry, even though it's a soundtrack for a movie that I haven't seen. I hear it's a bad movie, but here we are. We're also going to talk about Opposites, but we are going to talk about the double album format of Opposites, not the what one might consider the conventional release of a single album. We're going to talk about why when we get to that record, but just be assured that this is the right thing to do. So, what is the first record we're going to talk about? I picked it up slow, but now it's just a ritual. At number 8, 2016's Ellipsis. Ellipses. When they dropped the lead single for this, the opening track, it was right after Opposite. Just before Opposites was when I got on board with the band. And so when they dropped the lead single, Wolves of Winter, which is one of Biffy Clyro's best songs, I was really hyped. And then I heard the other ones. Actually, listening to the album for this video was the first time I listened to the album because I was so put off by some of the other lead singles. Animal Style, it's fine. It's a bit of a cock rock record, and the song Rearranges just the blandest shit. It is like if you took songs from the previous 2 albums like God and Satan and Machines and you made them both really bland. That's what that song is like. The thing is, it is Biffy Clyro trying to expand their sound, as if it wasn't already incredibly expanded on Opposites. But you have stuff like the orchestral Baroque pop of Friends and Enemies, and in a way, A song like Rearrange is kind of emblematic of the problems of the whole record, because some days I listen to Rearrange and I think it's one of Biffy Clyro's most beautiful songs. It's one of their best songs. Some days I listen to it and it's trash. In the same way, sometimes I listen to this whole album and sometimes I think it deserves to be higher up on the list. And sometimes I listen to it and it is just one of the blandest fucking things I've ever released. And for a band like Biffy Clyro, bland is not a word I ever use to describe them. So, yeah, it's not a good record. It's not good. This is the tea. This is tea. It's the tea that we're spilling, except we're not, because I've got valuable electronics. So, it's what I'm drinking. Album number 7. The soundtrack record. Balance, not Symmetry. This is a behemoth, over an hour long, which for a soundtrack to a movie seems like quite a long time. Like, you do want to hear the actors speak for some of it. We're not making Enter the Void here. The fact that it is a soundtrack album is kind of confusing to me, because these are big, loud, progressive rock songs. And there are some moments of like big pop moments. There are some more like brooding, ambient stuff, and it's nice to see Biffy explore those areas. It is also nice to see Biffy Clyro go back to making more not straightforward, but like more traditionally progressive rock sounds after the mess that was Ellipsis. But mess is probably the best way to describe this record, and I can't imagine it working particularly well as a soundtrack, because there are so many songs here that is big loud rock songs, and it's just like I can't imagine watching a movie and not having these songs completely pull me out of the drama. I just can't. So it evidently doesn't work as a soundtrack record. The remaining question is, does it work as an album by itself? And the answer to that is no. The thing is like, the album is big, it has an epic suite, but it has no cohesion. It has no uniting voice in the record, which, for an album like a soundtrack album, which is meant to tell a story, that is not promising. It's not promising. Like, yeah, there are good songs here, but they don't really hang together at all. Like, at all. And the thing is, like, it opens like this. I don't want to be defeated, I just want to fuck. What? Because, like, this is a coming-of-age movie, I think, that it's soundtracking, and the lyrics are, like, dogmatically tied to the plot of that thing. And it's not that album shouldn't have plot. I love loads of albums with plots, like these. But the problem is that Simon Neil, none of the members of Biffy Clyro came up with the plot. Which means that they are trying to write songs that are lyrically, dogmatically tied to someone else's story. And it means that the lyrics are immature, like amateurish, lazy, and just kind of bad and bland. And the lyrics are some things I love most on Biffy Clyro records. So overall, it's just not very good. I don't understand why you'd get a big loud rock band to soundtrack your movie. It would be like hiring Trent Oh, well. Bad luck, Biffy Clyro. Sorry, Simon. Number 6. 2004's Infinity Land. I used to hate this record. Like, I was wrong. It's good. It's good. I would hesitate to call it great. This album sits between two of what I would consider Biffy Clyro's career highlights, and it feels like treading water between both albums, to be perfectly honest. I think, now that I've seen the song Glitter and Trauma live, I understand what that song is meant to be, and I really like it. But it's like the only song on the record that feels like a sonic divergence for the band. Whereas before, what we would have is really captivating and experimental guitar lines. Here, the flitting octaves of the guitars, it feels like improvisational and unstructured and just thrown together. Like, Simon Neil was just like, alright, let's just like throw something here that sounds noodly, like they expect progressive rock bands to do. And the screamed vocals, again, it just kind of feels improvised, lazy, and without purpose more than anything else. Like, the screaming here, it feels like they did it because they needed another record. and you can't really hear what the vocals are. So you can just say whatever. That's all I really have to say about this record. It's fine, but it's quite bland. Let's move on to better music. Okay, number 5. Their 2002 debut, Blackened Sky, the album that got the band named by one publication as Scotland's answer to Nirvana. And yes, that sounds really stupid in retrospect, but I can see why the comparison was made. It does have a kind of post-grunge feel with tones of like alternative rock, and also like very emo-tinged lyrics and structural choices, which makes sense being the first album. It's an album by a younger band, so that kind of youthful, emo, angsty energy comes through in a way I really appreciate, because I am an emo bitch at heart. So it comes through most strongly on the singles from the album Just Boy and 27, both of which for me are like career highlight songs for the band. They are all-time great Biffy Clyro songs, and doing that on your first album is not easy. The introduction and sort of first few lyrics to 27 are like burned into my brain. They're just really good. It's pleasing to see relatively humble beginnings for a band that would go on to do such bigness, such sort of excessive, big, loud, complicated stuff that we're going to talk about on the next record. Actually, I like this a lot. Other highlights on the album include Joy Division Invention and Kill the Old, Torture Their Young. Two very good songs in Biffy Clyro's back catalogue. Right, number 4. Biffy Clyro's magnum opus, their double album, Opposites. Now, we are going to talk about this as a double record. The thing is, if you go on Spotify and you look at this album, it will be in two forms. You will have the Opposites, and you'll have the Opposites Deluxe Edition. This is stupid. If you go on Wikipedia, you have Opposites the actual album, and then Opposites the record label edition, which is the shorter one. Basically, the actual album is like a double album of like 25 something songs, and the record label one is only 14 tracks with an acoustic version of Pocket as a bonus track, which is really dumb. And I'm gonna say why. It is because when you take away the excesses of this album, when you take away the songs that are maybe not so well constructed but have astounding moments in them, like many of them, you lose what I find so compelling about this record, which is the epic sweep of it, which is the grandeur, which is the fact that, yeah, sometimes it doesn't always come together, but it's always impressive and ambitious and involving. And because it's a progressive rock album, even when it's not really coming together, when there are moments that there's always something really interesting happening in ways I'm going to get into. The first record is called The Sand at the Core of Our Bones. Second record is called The Land at the End of Our Toes. Both titles which get a name shout on Sounds Like Balloons, which is an early track on the record, and it's one of the best. Ultimately, is the double album format unwieldy? Yes. Is it overlong? Yes. Do some songs feel ultimately unfinished? Yes. Do I care? No. It opens with Different People, which starts with these grand operatic sweeping organs and these big romantic crowd pleasing lyrics, and about halfway through it stops and it becomes very fast paced, like very guitar note octave shifting prog rock song that just bangs, just goes, and it doesn't stop, and it's really great. Black Chandelier is one of the more laid back cuts on the record, but it ends with some really heavy riffs, and the lyrics and sort of more melodic soft moments on the record are still really beautiful, and I love Black Chandelier. It's almost like a proggy ballad. Sounds Like Balloons, which I've talked about, it's this like epic rager, and it's got this sort of synthesized high guitar note, I think, in the solo, and when that stops, the music stops, the chorus comes back in, it's just like a big punch in the chest. I love it. Yeah, Opposites is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever recorded. Great lyrics, great music, just overall great. The folk has these strange synthy harpsichord notes, very abstract lyrics, but it's got a really great flow, it's very poetic. So I just want to read out the chorus to convince you to listen to this record. Look at the stars, they're getting younger. Look at your pain, you're getting older. Not feeling right, but always hoping for more. And it partners very well with the song The Thought, which is also really, really good. The second half of the record has sort of classic Biffy songs like Stingin' Bell, which has these great, like, rollicking riffs with some, like, syncopation. It's got this, like, great Scottish folk feeling, which is only emphasised more when bagpipes come in on the outro. Biffy, they do a solid fucking outro, you know. But the second half of the record, it does have some more bizarre choices. You have these, like, Mexican style trumpets on Spanish radio. I love the song, but it's fucking whack. It's fucking whack. You have the weirdest fucking vocal lead on Woo Woo, which is just, why? Like, I'm here for it, but why? There's a song Trumpet or Tap, which could be a song from Chicago the Musical. It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, and the song Pocket, which was an off-cut from Only Revolutions, actually. And I see why. It would not have fit tonally on that record. But here, it's a wonderful, light-hearted, really, like, poppy, like, sparkly, sugary cut. And I love to see it here. This album, it's off its fucking rocker, but I love it. Album number 3. Vertigo of Bliss. This is so good. It's so good. Biffy Clyro here avoids a sophomore slump by just really upping the ante. They change up the sound a bit. It's way more aggressive. This is really where I think they start to look like a prog rock band. But even then, they slip into, like, post-hardcore punk all the time, specifically on the song Toys, 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 Choke, Toys, Toys, Toys. Say that 5 times fast. Which has a little more grungy sounds, got some very experimental rhythmic choices and sort of guitar tones. The album's, like, longer than Blackened Sky. It's one of the longer cuts, but if you want a really aggressive sounding, like, post-hardcore infused prog rock record, this is for you. It's got some sweet notes as well with the song Questions and Answers, which has always been a favourite Biffy song of mine, even though that does go into some more heavy prog rock notes towards the end. And yet, somehow, in all of this madness, they include multiple sing-along choruses. It's fucking great. I would say that if Blackened Sky is their Nevermind, this is their Doolittle. That's right, I went there with the Pixies and Nirvana. I did it. Okay, so now we get into, like, the canonical classic Biffy records. Let's see what we have next. Let's see. I puzzled over this choice. I really had a hard time choosing between these two records, which are two of my favourite records. It was a real jigsaw puzzle. Puzzle, Biffy Clyro's 4th album. It is their first with Storm Thorgerson, who designed the album cover for this record. He also did all of these. Yeah, so he's quite prolific. And he also did the rest of the sort of big album trilogy. This is Simon Neil's epic tribute to his dead mother Eleanor, who gets a name drop on Folding Stars. We're going to talk about that song later. Yeah, this album opens with a song called Living is a Problem Because Everything Dies. It's not here to necessarily have a good time, but it's a really fun record. It's really hooky. It's probably Simon's best songwriting up until this point in his career, and it hits a note of, like, raw energy mixed with big accessible hooks that I don't think they ever really achieved again. And the reason I puzzled so much over this is that I let some fucking idiot tell me that the vocal mixing on Early Revolutions makes it worse. I'm really glad I went back to thinking that Only Revolutions is better than this. You know, spoilers, but it's the only album we haven't talked about yet. But no. Like, for me to think this was better than Only Revolutions for such a long time must tell you that it's really good. Yeah, it was the first record of them to really achieve breakout and crossover success. It received 10 out of 10 reviews on both Rock Sound and Kerrang magazines, which are really sort of the premier biggest rock specific outlets in the UK, at least. And I can see why it had this big breakout success. It's got really big pop rock rages like A Whole Child Ago, Who's Got a Match, and Folding Stars. And I want to take this moment to talk about Folding Stars. It's just a beautiful song that makes me cry. It name drops Eleanor, Simon's mother, in the big sing-along chorus. It's got this really raw, honest, lyrical sensibility, which coupled with the grief-stricken tone of the record, and the big arms in the air with your cigarette lighters vibe, it means that it's just ready and set to make me cry. Yeah, you got this chorus where he says, "I'd do anything for another minute with you. It's not getting easier. I hope that you're folding stars," which is just, ouch. Ow. That hurt me. Like, in my heart, it hurt me. Jesus. It's just really good. And it closes with Machines, which is a really stripped-back acoustic ballad. I can't listen to it without crying. I've been on a personal journey with this song. I used to think that it was really nihilistic and sort of just about the state of being sad. But I've grown to realise it's a lot more hopeful than that. And that's a wonderful thing to realise as you're growing older with a record, I think. And it's just... sometimes you need a song that's just... It's okay to feel like shit. And for people to tell you it's going to get better and for you not to believe them. But it will get better. We need that sometimes, I think, especially now. It would still feel, this album, despite that, still filled with really exciting punk rock type songs. Well, not punk rock, but like punk rock inflected. More rougher around the edges tracks, like Sentimental and Saturday Superhouse, which are just really great. Yeah, so let's talk about Only Revolutions. I am a mountain. Now, Only Revolutions at number 1, the Divorce album where they stayed together afterwards. Yeah, my notes for this record, it says just, I don't know if you can read that, it says just gush. So I'm going to do that. God, where do I start? I should have made more notes. It opens with probably the most pop accessible song on the record, that being The Captain, which, lyrically appropriately, it starts with these big stomping feet. And it feels like a sea shanty with these big cascading trumpets. It feels like an avalanche coming down upon you. It's a really exciting way to open a record. That is actually quite out there at points to open with such a big pop song. It's got a trumpet solo. Like, I'm here for this shit. Like, it doesn't waste any time. We move very quickly along. We reach the song Bubbles, which is another big, glistening pop song. But it's got this astonishing outro, where they actually got Josh Homme of Queens of the Stone Age in to do the solo here with Simon. And it's to the extent where you can't pick out one specific guitar line most of the time, because they're both doing just such a good job of carrying the song. And I feel like if you only had one, it wouldn't do such a good job. But when you have two, it makes the outro just jaw-droppingly great. And in between these two tracks is the song That Golden Rule. One time I went to a silent disco, they asked for requests, and I said, anything from Only Revolutions. And they played That Golden Rule, which is the heaviest song on the record. And I was the only person on the dance floor who was just amazingly happy this was happening, just playing through the headphones, just jumping up and down like a fucking maniac. It's got this big thick bass line that really pushes the song forward, these screaming vocals from Simon that we've come to expect, these strange abstract historically rooted allegories in the lyrics, and another orchestral outro that is just out of this world. Many of Horror being this slow acoustic ballad with a pretty strange acoustic guitar riff. Hang on. You say I love you, boy. I know you lie. I trust you all the same. I don't know why. Yeah, it's just a really gorgeous song. I'm having trouble putting into words how much I love the song beyond the fact that it is beautiful. You just have to hear it for yourself. And the lyrics are, as we've come to expect from Biffy Clyro, kind of obtuse, but also very poetic, very inspired by W.B. Yeats, actually, which is kind of appropriate in ways. It's very rooted in folklore, in allegory, in myth, in ways that make sense. And it explores the idea of a relationship falling apart, but you still believe in the relationship in really beautiful ways. Like, when we collide, we come together. What better expression of like a codependent relationship are you ever going to get? Like, look at it. You have the song Mountains, which is the best song they've ever made, in my opinion, which is just an affirmation of love through struggle. You see through these very mythologically rooted metaphors Simon being affirmed as someone who deserves something he's missed out on, expressed through royalty. I wrote a note to the jungle and they wrote me back that I was never crowned king of the jungle, so there's an end to my horizon. And it's this sort of plea for getting what you want out of a situation, for getting some kind of affirmation that all this is worth it, just so you have, it's just so that you can stop struggling, I think. And just the lyrics affirm love in really beautiful ways. There's sort of a metaphor that I am the mountain, I am the sea. Love can last forever between you and me. You are my mountain, you are my sea. I'm getting chills. It's got this really lovely chord progression, sort of descending and going up, sort of all around your conventional rock scale of chords. I mean, really fascinating in arrhythmical ways. The drummer does a great job of keeping this kind of quite wrong-footing rhythm, but in a way that really keeps you engaged in the accessibility of the song. And one of the band's greatest strengths is their drumming and their rhythm section in general. I think those twins work really well together. And then there's song God and Satan, which is another heart-wrenching acoustic ballad about self-doubt and conflict. It's fucking beautiful, and it's about self-hating as well. The song Born on a Horse is a very strange, fucked up song with a really sleazy bass line. Shock Shock is a pretty heart-wrenching, fists in the air, cigarette lighters moment. That doesn't start like that. It starts very abstract and difficult and agorhythmic, sort of almost like metal in a way at the start. When the chorus kicks in, it's just, yeah, it's got me. I'm gonna cry now. Big soaring chorus. Boom Blast and Ruin is a really fun song, along the same themes that the rest of the albums explore, but in a much more bouncing way. Know Your Quarry is when the harpsichords come in. Fuck, man. Every track on this record is great. I've talked for a long time about how much this record slaps and fucks, and it's just beautiful. It's sad. The last time I listened to it, I cried buckets. It's just really, really good. I can't speak enough to how much this album covers all of my personal bases. It's sad, it's mournful, it's hopeful, it rocks, it slows down, it's got fun pop songs, it's got ballads, and it's just, it covers all of my feelings. It covers all of them. Okay, so that has been the first worst to best that we've done on this channel for a bit. And that we've done since I started working on stuff for this channel. I hope their new record is good. I can't wait to hear it. I've been pretty mixed on the singles, but the fact that they have been sort of experimenting with sounds I like on balance, not Symmetry, makes me think that there are going to be some deep cuts on this record that I'm going to really enjoy. But tune in to the episode where we talk about it in a couple of weeks to know. So thank you very much. This has been Biffy Clyro, worst to best. Join us next time. Fuck yeah.